Marion, in classes, again, people always say, Grant, are you comfortable, or they are not comfortable using a personality profile, and then they make some kind of comparison with other teachers who use face-to-face interviews.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear what your take is on using an Enneagram personality profile versus profiling cards, or maybe a face-to-face interview.
Okay, that's a really good question. My personal preference is to use both. Why not? The more the merrier. Yeah. Of course, when we look at the situation, both are just as good as each other. Whether we choose to use a online profile, a self-assessment, or if we go through a interview face-to-face with the coachee or with the individual who wants to find out their type. So we would have a typing process with a certain number of questions to help identify what their type could be. All right. My personal preference is to use both, all right, but when it comes to training workshops where we have a class of maybe 15 to 20 participants, it's quite difficult to do an interview for every individual. So having the online profile done first is really very convenient, it's useful, it's helpful. And one of the profiles, or the main profile that we use, is the WEPS, WEPSS, which is Wagner's Enneagram Personality
System.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So, there are merits using both, and some people just prefer using one or the other, but we definitely see the merits of using both. Just like what Marion said, I think in a training program where there's 20, 30, can you imagine we've done keynote sessions where there are 50 and 60? There's no way you can run a face-to-face interview.
Typing, exactly.
And the challenge with that is, I think a lot of people are not trained to do those face-to-face interviews and ask the right questions. So possibly people may walk away having the wrong type, and that's even more disruptive. So I think profiling cards can actually help for one-to-one sessions with coaching, when you're coaching, and I think bigger classes, it's much better to use the profiling.
Exactly. And when it comes to the profiling tool, I think I mentioned this earlier, that the person, while they're taking their test, they have to be quite self-aware. If they don't really know themselves well, then maybe not going to answer it as accurately, or again, they may answer it based on who they think they may be, or who they think people expect them to be. So like any other profiling tool, it's so important that you have someone to debrief you, to have a coach to talk this through with you, right? And again, I think we mentioned that it's not so important to really tune in and find out what is your type. That at the end of the day, I need to know what my type is. It definitely helps, but if you're going to be struggling with a few types, it's good to have a good guide or a good coach to sit down and talk to you about the details, and do you connect with these kind of behaviors, do you not connect with these kind of behaviors. All right, so one of the things I also remind a lot of our participants or coaches is that this profiling tool it's about personal development. There's no right or wrong answer. So take your time, answer the questions, don't think too hard, just go with what your gut tells you, right? And don't worry about what other people are going to expect of you. Really, this is about self-development, for your self-awareness. So the profiling tool helps. But again, if you look at WEPS, I think sometimes it frightens some people because it's 200 words, right? And it can take a person 20 minutes to half an hour, depending.
I've even seen 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Enjoy.
Right? Exactly. So, some people might get fatigued after a while, or they start to answer them inaccurately, or they start to put 3 on every of the responses, right? So it is so important to have that follow-up where you can either go with a workshop or a coaching session so that it gives them time to really explore each of the different behaviors of the types, and then from there determine, okay, I know for sure who I am. Right? But I mean, when we look at the report of WEPS, do you remember when you took the test? How did you feel when you read the report?
Oh boy, it didn't look like me.
Spot on.
Sometimes it doesn't look like you, and sometimes it's spot on, right?
Exactly.
It just really depends. So if you have the time, I would think, obviously using both is a great advantage. And that's when you're doing one-on-one coaching, you can definitely do that. But if you've got constraints like doing a workshop, and especially when you don't have time to when you have time to administer the profile, then I think doing the profile
it's useful, it's helpful.
Gives a lot of advantages.
It gives a structure to start off with. When I read my profile, I was like, wow, this is spot on, this is so me. And I think that really gave me a little bit more insight to who I was. So I really feel that WEPS, Jerry Wagner's profiling tool, it's one of the best ones out there. It sounds like we're selling it now, but the things that we really do, we really do support that system. It's wonderful. And of course, we've got our own cards, our typing cards to help people explore a little bit more about what are the behaviors that are healthy, unhealthy, and quite a few other things in those cards.
And thanks for reminding. So our profiling deck, our Enneagram profiling deck will be ready in 1.5 months from today. So again, if you want a good profiling set, get in touch with us.